The Vikings were not the strongest warriors in history, but they had a strategy that made them almost impossible to defeat. They did not rely on strength alone. They relied on something far more powerful. In a world of freezing cold, chaos, and endless war, this strategy meant the difference between survival and death. And the Viking world, survival was never guaranteed. The land was frozen for months. Storms could destroy entire villages, and the cold alone could kill within hours. But the greatest danger was not the environment. It was the constant threat of war. Enemies could appear without warning, and every battle could be your last. The Vikings did not win because they were fearless. They won because they fought as one. In every battle, survival depended on unity, not individual strength. Their greatest weapon was not the sword. It was a strategy that turned warriors into a single unstoppable force. They formed a line, shields locked together, each man protecting the one beside him. This formation was known as the Shield Wall, simple in design, but devastating in battle. It allowed them to stand against stronger enemies and survive battles that would have destroyed any lone warrior. They locked their shields together, forming what became known as the Shield Wall. Each shield protected not just one warrior, but the entire line. If one moved, they all moved. If one fell, the entire formation was at risk. But when held together, this wall became nearly impossible to break. Even stronger enemies struggled to penetrate it, because they were no longer fighting individuals. They were facing a unified force. But this strategy only worked because of one thing: trust. Every warrior had to trust the man beside him to hold the line, to not break, to not run, because fear could spread faster than any enemy. If one man panicked, the entire formation could collapse. But when trust held strong, they became more than warriors. They became a wall that could not be broken. This level of unity was not natural, it was trained. From a young age, Viking warriors were taught to fight as one. They trained together, moved together, and learned to react as a single force. Every movement had to be precise. Every step, every strike, every decision had to match the rhythm of the group. Because in battle, there was no time to think, only to trust and act as one. When the moment came, there was no fear, only movement. The shield wall advanced, slow, steady, unstoppable. Step by step, they pushed forward as one, shields locked, axes ready. Every movement was controlled, every action synchronized. The enemy struck, but the wall did not break, blow after blow. It held strong, because this was not a group of warriors. It was a single force, moving with one purpose. And against that, few could stand. When the battle was over, silence returned to the battlefield. The noise, the chaos, the violence, all faded away. What remained were the warriors who stood together, exhausted, wounded, but alive, because they had not fought alone. They had trusted each other, held the line, and survived. In the end, it was not strength that decided the outcome, it was unity. His Viking strategy was not just about winning battles, it was about survival in a world where nature was harsh and enemies were everywhere. No man could survive alone. Strength could win a fight, but only unity could win a war. Because true power was never in the individual, it was in the group. A group that moved together, fought together, and survived together. This is what made the Vikings so dangerous. Not their weapons, but the way they stood side by side, no matter what. This strategy was not perfect. The shield wall was powerful, but it had weaknesses. It required discipline, precision, and absolute trust. If one warrior broke formation, even for a second, the entire wall could collapse. Enemies knew this. They waited, they watched, looking for the smallest mistake. Because one weak point was all it took to turn strength into disaster. But even when the shield wall broke, the Vikings did not panic. They adapted. Warriors quickly closed the gaps, stepping forward, reforming the line. Every second mattered, because hesitation meant death. They had trained for this moment, to recover, to adjust, to survive, and in the middle of chaos, they rebuilt the wall. Not perfectly, but enough to hold. Because for the Vikings, survival was not about perfection. It was about never breaking completely. This is what made the Vikings truly terrifying. It was not their weapons, not their strength, but their ability to stand together, no matter the cost. Even when the line broke, they rebuilt it. Even when fear appeared, they controlled it. They moved as one, fought as one, and survived as one. Because in their world, unity was not a choice. It was the only way to live. The Vikings were not impossible to defeat, but their strategy made them one of the most dangerous forces in history, because they understood something most warriors did not. That survival was never about standing alone. It was about standing together, no matter the cost. And in a world of chaos, that made all the difference.